I'm Callum Roberts and I'm Professor of Marine Conservation at the University of York in England. Overfishing in Europe is endemic, and for many years we have seen the progressive decline of fish stocks, a ramping up of fishing pressure, and it's really in the last couple of decades that people have recognized that we've got a serious problem and have started trying to do something about it. The trouble is that the regulations within the EU have been completely ineffective in reining in overfishing, and indeed we have seen nothing more than a continuation of the collapse of marine ecosystems and stocks as a result of the policies pursued there. So I think in Europe the problem is that we have competitive bargaining over quotas for fish stocks, and that means that what inevitably happens year after year is that people will expand the size of the cake that needs to be divided among the nations by inflating the quotas over and above scientific advice, rather than arguing about the real issue, which is how to slice a limited cake between 27 different nations. I think the problem is in Europe that politicians have failed to understand that fish stocks are a limited resource. And so it's been easier for them to take short-term decisions which say, you can have these fish now and give me political credit for giving you them, rather than saying, actually, you can't take any more than are being produced, and we're going to live within our means and we're going to have sustainable fisheries. It's been too easy for them to get away with this for years, and the net result has been a decline in the fish stocks. I think what has to happen in Europe is a reform of the common fisheries policy in a number of ways. First and foremost, we need to reduce the amount of fishing that is going on so that fish stocks have a chance to recover. But we also need to reform the way that decisions are taken, so that instead of it being a political process to make decisions on how much fish is taken out of the sea, it becomes a political process to allocate the amount of fish that each country can take from a total which is set by clear scientific methods. So in other words, we need to follow scientific advice in order to achieve sustainability in fisheries. Allied to that, though, we have to establish marine protected areas within Europe, places that are given a high level of protection from exploitation and within which stocks can recover and habitats can recover, and that will promote the productivity of fisheries within Europe. If the reforms are going to work within Europe to recover the viability of the fisheries and increase productivity, then we really have some simple options that have to be implemented. One is we have to fish less, we have to use less destructive methods to catch fish, we need to increase the amount of protection that is offered to fish, and we need to waste less. And one of the problems within Europe that we see is that there is a huge amount of waste in the form of discarded fish that are caught and then have to be thrown away, either because of regulations that you exceed the amount of quota that you've got, or because of high grading, where people are just throwing away the least valuable and keeping the more valuable of those species. So wasting less is absolutely paramount, and I think there has been a great citizen movement within Europe under the banner of Fish Fight to try and reduce discarding, and there's a real chance that a discard ban will be included in the common fisheries policy reform, but it will take continued public pressure to see that happen. And I would also like to see within Europe public pressure mounting to establish protected areas and networks of areas that are off limits to fishing that will really help breathe life back into European seas. If we don't tackle the common fisheries policy reform in a robust way, then what we will see is really impending disaster realized within Europe. I think we've only got 5 or 10 years left in the way of productivity of European fisheries if we don't enact reforms now. And since reforms come round on a 10-year cycle, we really can't wait until 2022 for the next round in order to take the steps necessary to recover life in European seas. We've got to act now, and we've got to get it right this time.